Here's the brief news from the world over this week. It was another week of escalating war rhetoric after the United Nations slapped tough new sanctions on North Korea. The rogue nation vowed to bolster its nuclear arsenal, unveiled plans to fire 4 test missiles toward Guam, and gain a, quote, 1,000-fold revenge against the United States. The tough talk came after the UN Security Council unanimously approved sanctions, including an exports ban worth over $1 billion. Pyongyang called the move a violent infringement of its sovereignty. As reports surfaced Tuesday that North Korea may have successfully produced a miniaturized nuclear warhead, President Donald Trump boasted of America's own nuclear arsenal and warned the communist dictatorship to not make any more threats to the United States or face annihilation. After North Korea dismissed that comment, Trump on Thursday responded like this.
They've been doing this to our country for a long time, for many years. And it's about time that somebody stuck up for the people of this country and for the people of other countries. So, if anything, maybe that statement wasn't tough enough.
Trump added that North Korea better get their act together or face extraordinary trouble. More on this in our next segment. And most of the world's attention has been on North Korea, while the Middle East's aspiring nuclear power, Iran, is dismissing a U.S. push to inspect its military sites. In a bid to test the nuclear deal that Tehran struck with the world's powers and the Obama administration in 2015, the Trump administration has been pushing for inspections of suspicious sites. However, on Monday, a spokesman for the Islamic Republic mocked the U.S. request, saying to reporters the request was a dream that will never come true and possibly the work of a satirist. The inspections are one element of the Trump administration's strategy to be more aggressive in preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. This past week, the president signed new sanctions against Iran for its ballistic missile program, human rights abuses, and support of international terrorism. And South America's defiant rogue leader is moving ahead with his power grab amid criticism domestically and abroad. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's newly created Constituent Assembly took office this week. Their job? Rewriting Venezuela's constitution, and thereby enabling Maduro to solidify his power. The assembly declared itself all-powerful this week and literally took seats in the chamber where the opposition-controlled Congress of Venezuela normally meets. The U.S. imposed new sanctions against the Maduro government on Thursday. The vice president of the Venezuelan Bishops' Conference denounced what he called the voracious corruption of the Maduro regime and called for a total change of government through general elections. Back here in the U.S., the city of Chicago is taking the Trump administration to court over its immigration policies. Democrat Mayor Rahm Emanuel announced Monday that Chicago is suing over what many U.S. cities argue are illegal bids to withhold public safety grants from so-called sanctuary cities. Attorney General Jeff Sessions responded to the announcement, saying the administration, quote, will not simply give away grant dollars to city governments that proudly violate the rule of law and protect criminal aliens at the expense of public safety. Emanuel said his city won't be blackmailed into changing its values as a city welcoming immigrants. An estimated 300 U.S. jurisdictions, including cities and counties, have sanctuary policies for illegal immigrants. And in Nigeria, at least 12 people are dead and others critically wounded. It happened when a gunman attacked a church in southeastern Nigeria. Although Boko Haram has attacked hundreds of churches during the past decade, authorities believe this shooting was related to organized crime and a drug war. Police said gunmen entered St. Philip Church during Mass early Sunday and went to the front of the church and opened fire. Another assailant blocked an exit door as worshipers scattered. One of those killed was the father of a local magnate who financed the building of the church. The magnet was apparently the target of the gunman. Pope Francis deplored the attack during his Wednesday audience, singling out those who perpetuate violence on places of worship where the faithful gather to pray. And the long-discussed accord between the Holy See and Beijing on the appointment of bishops in China is apparently already in place. This according to Vatican Bishop Marcelo Sanchez Sorando. He told a Chinese state-run media outlet this past week that although the Holy See has been unable to reach a formal agreement with the Chinese government, an unspoken agreement for the appointment of Catholic bishops is, quote, the real thing. Bishop Sorando, the Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, went on to say the real thing is that at this moment, China and the Pope have a very good relation. The communist regime insists that bishops in China must be chosen by the government-backed Catholic Patriotic Association and not the Pope. In practice, many Chinese bishops are recognized by both the Vatican and Beijing, but bishops who openly resist the Patriotic Association remain subject to government harassment and persecution. The Vatican did recently express grave concerns over Bishop Peter Shao Zhimin. He was seized by authorities in May. His whereabouts are still unknown. And in spite of the recent liberation of Mosul, the Christian presence in Iraq has continued to decline. According to a recent report, the Vatican has ordered the closure of 8 churches in Baghdad. International Christian Concern, an organization that advocates on behalf of persecuted Christians, says the churches were closed in May after nearly 7 years of low or no attendance. Catholics fled Iraq since the beginning of the Iraqi war more than a decade ago. And Pope Francis has ordered the Belgian Catholic hospital system to stop offering euthanasia to its patients. The Brothers of Charity, who operate 15 hospitals in Belgium, disclosed earlier this year that they would begin to offer euthanasia as an option to patients. The Pope has given the religious order until the end of August to end that policy or face canonical discipline, including the removal of the hospital's Catholic identity. The Vatican also instructed all members of the Brothers of Charity who serve on the hospital boards to provide a written assurance that they accept the Church's teaching that human life must be respected and protected in absolute terms from the moment of conception until its natural end. And finally, in the Holy Land, after a decades-long search, archaeologists north of the Sea of Galilee believe they have found the native village of 3 apostles. Excavators have uncovered the remains or ruins of the lost Roman city of Julius, which existed between the 1st and 3rd century A.D. During the time of Christ, it was the village of Bethsaida, which is described in the New Testament as the home to the apostles Peter, Andrew, and Philip. Discovered Roman-era pottery, bronze, and coins dating to the Emperor Nero pegged the site between AD 65 and 85 AD. This was the setting for many of Jesus' miracles in the Gospel of St. Mark. Jesus heals a blind man there. It's also near the site where he multiplied the fishes and the loaves.